An early look at the Week 13 waiver wire. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Right now on FFT Express. Yeah, we got 3 games on Thursday. Green Bay, Detroit, Kansas City, Dallas, Cincinnati, Baltimore, with the return of Joe Burrow, but not T. Higgins. He will not play this week. Joe Burrow will play. Friday, we have Chicago at Philadelphia, and the rest of the slate on Sunday. And then, calling it now, the big upset, Giants over the Patriots Monday night. Anyway, more time. Wow. More time to talk about that throughout the week. Right now, we're giving you some players to target on the waiver wire. No teams are on a bye. Some injuries to discuss here. But, Jamie, what's the waiver wire looking like for Week 13?
I think there's some fill-in options. I don't think there's a slam dunk must-start guy. You know, I have a couple running backs that are going to be of interest in Devin Neal because of Alvin Kamara with a knee injury. Chris Rodriguez, we talked about going into the Commanders bye week. Most likely their starting running back, or at least their featured running back. Tough matchup against Denver, tough schedule, but some guys that you can look at there. Maybe Raheem Mostert if this Ashton Genty injury concern is a problem, but my guess is he just came out of the game because of what the score was at that point and the hits that he was taking behind that offensive line. You mentioned T. Higgins and his injury. Andre Yoshibus gets another week of potential action, and maybe Mike Gesicki because of what Higgins' absence has meant for Gesicki over the years. Tight end actually is probably my favorite position this week just because of Brenton Strange and still Dalton Schultz and Colston Loveland, three guys that could be potential starters for you. And the other receivers, I think, are going to be some intriguing third options, three receiver leagues, like Jaden Higgins, who's been playing well of late, Jamey Eisenberg, who's got an opportunity in front of him. There's just some interesting options, not necessarily a slam. We don't have the Emmanuel Wilson unfortunate scenario. I don't think Devin Neal is that guy.
Okay, how come? Because usually we get excited to varying degrees about running backs, and Devin Neal had 7 carries and 5 catches. He's widely available, 12% rostered, and his schedule. We talked about it with Kamara. Kamara had one of the best remaining schedules. You look at Devin Neal's page on CBSSports.com on the fantasy site. Every matchup is green, which is a top 10 matchup. Miami's 24th against running backs. Tampa Bay 23rd. Carolina 22nd. Jets 20th. Tennessee 26th. Atlanta 29th. That's week 18. So almost all of them are green. Anyway, yeah, how come you're not that excited about Devin Neal?
Well, I will counter the green matchups by going to Alvin Kamara's player page and looking at single digits. Oh, look, there's a double digit one against Carolina, a single digit. Like, it's just been tough to trust the guy who's better than him. And then you factor in Taysom Hill, who is most likely going to be a huge problem for him. So I think there's reason to buy into him as a flex. There's certainly reason to buy into him as maybe a number 2 running back if you're desperate. But it's also not like Kamara has been ruled out for the season. There's still a chance that he can play this week. I don't think that's going to happen, but there is a chance that he can return, soon. So for all those great matchups, they could be Kamara instead of Devin Neal.
All right.
Funny story with that though. In our podcast league, we were carrying Jamey Eisenberg, dropped DK for Jaden Higgins. Thursday night, I really wanted to get Devin Neal, so dropped Jaden Higgins on Thursday afternoon. Didn't pick up anybody. Waiting to pick up Devin Neal. Watch Higgins score the touchdown. Like, oh man, I knew I shouldn't have dropped him. Then we get Devin Neal, and then this happens. So roundabout way, like it
worked out.
Probably will work out for us, but so.
Yeah, it might work out for someone else too, because they have an opportunity to pick up Jaden Higgins, who's been encouraging.
And DK.
And Jamey Eisenberg, yeah. All right, so we'll take a quick break and give you some We'll give you go position by position quickly here when we come back on Fantasy Football Today Express. And for those of you watching and listening, I want to please ask you, Jamie, we advanced in the 64 podcast bracket.
No way.
We did. I told you.
We beat Bussin' with the Boys?
We did. Thank you to everybody who voted. Now we're up against Men in Blazers.
Okay.
It's not going to be us. Sometimes we wear blazers, but not all at the same time. So go to the64.com, click on the first page. You're going to see America's Best Sports Talk Radio /podcast, and vote for Fantasy Football Today. We're in the top right bracket. We're going up against Men in Blazers. It's so easy to vote. It's incredibly easy. Click on us. Then they'll send you a text message to verify. You enter the code, you vote for us, you move on, we have fun, and hopefully we'll move on. And it's ending very soon. So I think you only have like a day, basically, maybe a few days. But try to do it today if you can. We'd appreciate it. The64.com. Quarterbacks to pick up, Jamie.
Not the best list. I have CJ Stroud at the top, just based on his performance prior to getting hurt, what Davis Mills has done while he was out. And I know it's not the easiest matchup against the Colts, but I don't think it's one that you say, okay, if I don't need a quarterback, he's not one to look at. If that makes sense. But I have him and Tua basically as the top two guys to, acquire for this week of the guys who are widely available. And then it gets ugly. Tyler Shuck, Cam Ward, Max Brosmer now with the JJ McCarthy injury, and Teddy Bridgewater with the Baker Mayfield injury.
Tua's got the Saints. Stroud is still in the concussion protocol, by the way. But when he clears, he will be the starting quarterback they've announced. Okay, running backs, anyone other than Devin?
Leagues, just keep an eye on Jacoby Brissett and Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence has been dropped in a lot of leagues, but gets what should be a favorable matchup for him this week. I hope he takes advantage of it, but we'll see how things go there for the Jaguars against the Titans.
Any running backs other than Devin Neal?
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, it's not terrible. Devin Neal, Chris Rodriguez. I'm still going to put in claims for Jaleel McLaughlin. I know RJ Harvey dominated snap count there, but McLaughlin clearly the next guy up. And if Harvey struggles, I think he'll get an opportunity just based on the familiarity with Sean Payton. Raheem Mostert, just in case there is something going on with Genti and leaving the game, is something to keep an eye on there. Dylan Sampson, same thing. Quinshon Judkins in the medical tent twice. I know he finished the game, but maybe this is a guy that they play a little bit more with Shadur Sanders in the passing game after he had the big explosive play for the touchdown. And then Blake Corum would be the last guy to just add just in the range of guys that we talk about.
All right. Wide receivers. So DK and Metchie, do you have a preference?
I have a slight lean toward DK just because I think his quarterback situation's a little bit safer. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but also the prospect. So you can put Metchie right there. So I have basically 4 guys that I think are almost identical in terms of like a lot of questions, but clearly a path to success. And that's Yoshivas, Chimere DK, Jaden Higgins, and John Metchie. So all 4 guys, 5 to 10% of your fab, potential number 3 receivers. Metchie's 10 targets in his last 2 games since being acquired, scored a touchdown in both. Higgins has been 4 of his last 5 with 7+ targets, back-to-back games with touchdowns. We'll see what happens with Stroud back. I hope it's not a Davis Mills thing, but something there. DK, we'll see what happens. When Ion Manner's healthy, he missed the game as well, but we know that Calvin Ridley's out for the rest of the season with that hamstring injury, or excuse me, broken leg. I'm sorry. And Yoshivas, I don't know if it's going to be a 1-week thing again for him, but we know how sometimes concussions can linger, and there's a big opportunity with Burrow back with him being the starter opposite Jamar Chase.
Yeah, he played 5 games without Higgins last year and with Burrow, with Chase. And it wasn't great. He had 4 fewer targets in 4 of those 5 games. He scored in 1 good game. And then other than that, and that good game was 2 catches, 7 yards, 2 touchdowns. But it's different. It's just different. He had a good game last week. Yoshivas, you mentioned it. When he gets targets, he's pretty good. The guy that was really great last year was Gesicki. I mean, it was wild how good he was when Higgins was out. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. I just remember that story.
We'll have it for tomorrow.
Yeah. So he's someone to consider, but he played about 50% of the snaps. He had the second most snaps among Cincinnati tight ends, but a lot more than Noah Fant.
Just some other guys for receiver. Jaden Reed, they opened his window to return last week, and maybe he's a difference maker for the Packers. Greg Dortch, as long as Marvin Harrison continues to be out, he's been fantastic the last 2 weeks. Darius Slayton, I still think, is going to have some better production with Jackson Dart under center. And then we don't know how long Drake London's going to be out, but Darnell Mooney as well.
The one thing on Slayton is that he had been playing in 2 receiver sets. It would be Wandale and Slayton. Yesterday or Sunday, it was Wandale, and then it was either Slayton or Hodgins. So it bummed me out a little bit because you and I kind of like Slayton. He lost some snaps to Hodgins.
I have a feeling, based on what Jameis said, that Jameis and Hodgins have a very good rapport, and maybe that carries over for Dart as well. I know Dart and Slayton were playing well together prior to both getting hurt.
All right, tight ends.
Yeah, so tight ends for me, I struggled with Brenton Strange versus Dalton Schultz, but I'm going to give the slight edge to Strange just based on what he looked like yesterday and what maybe his role is going to be. Also, prior to getting hurt, he was starting to build some momentum, but I think both those guys, plus Strange is more widely available. Schultz at 60% roster, Strange at 20%. Colston Loveland just continues to, every time he gets chances, he's delivering for them. Tough matchup coming up against Philadelphia, and as you alluded to Sunday night, the schedule is brutal for the Bears coming up, but Still a young player on the rise. Should be rostered in more than 63% of leagues. Kaseki would be next at 3%. I have Darren Waller, who's expected to practice on Wednesday. After him, maybe he comes back and picks up where he left off. Was doing a great job for the Dolphins before getting hurt. Taysom Hill, now he's going to be more involved, so that's something to keep an eye on there. Gunnar Helm is getting a lot more playing time lately and producing. So maybe they're starting to just lean into their youth movement. And then we have now, with Tyler Higbee out for the season, Colby Parkinson very quietly scored a touchdown in 3 straight games. So with the way Matthew Stafford's playing at this point, why not take a chance on someone who's as not a big part of that offense, but a part of that offense, and somebody that has at least been productive for 3 straight games.
By the way, you talk about Loveland, and yesterday on the recap show, I said that Caleb Williams, based on his schedule, probably the best sell high candidate. Well, the Eagles had 4 injuries to starters or to key players on defense, not their best players, but 2 safeties.
Yeah, Blankenship was hurt. Yep.
Blankenship, Makuba is out for the season. Adoree Jackson got hurt, and a defensive lineman got hurt as well. It's not Jalen Carter, it's not Quinion Mitchell, but it's 4 players got hurt yesterday, guys that play significant snaps for the Eagles. So that's a Friday game against the Chicago Bears, and definitely something that we'll be monitoring. All right, that's DST. Sorry.
Yeah, DST is interesting. Chargers, my favorite, taking on the Raiders this week, so go get them. They're 48% roster. Jaguars get the Titans. I know the Jaguars defense has been a little suspect. Well, I shouldn't say that. They were great 2 weeks ago against the Chargers. They were a little suspect yesterday against the Cardinals. Falcons coming off a strong game. They get the Jets. 49ers against Shedeur. So we'll see how things go there against a better defense, at least a better coordinator. And then the Dolphins get the Saints, now down Kamara. So I know Tyler Shuck actually played well against the Falcons, but still, if you're desperate, the Dolphins might not be bad. Kickers, you got Kyrie Fairbairn. Now that he's healthy, should be rostered in more leagues. Brandon McManus, in no favor of yours early in the season, had 3 field goals against Minnesota. And now they're playing indoors against the Lions. That could be a low-scoring game where he's getting more opportunities. Badgley gets the Texans in his building, so indoor kicker, don't worry about weather. Jake Elliott's not coming off a big game against the Bears. They've given up fantasy points to kickers. And then Chad Ryland against the Bucks. So we'll see if he can make up for his missed field goal yesterday.
I said Andrew Makuba is out for the season for the Eagles. He could be. He's having ankle surgery, so he's going to be out for a while. I shouldn't have said the season. It's not guaranteed. This according to Jeremy Fowler. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll have much more for you tomorrow with a long look at the waiver wire to get you ready for week 13 and Thanksgiving, side dishes, all the stuff we love. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today.